guys. Chapter 7, Puppy Love, Dog Love. The very next day, Amelia Bedelia was riding her bike near town when she heard someone call her name. Amelia Bedelia, over here. Diana had 10 dogs attached to one long leash. She was heading to the park, so Amelia Bedelia rode along beside her. I'm so glad to see you, said Amelia Bedelia. Was your blind date fun? It was perfect, said Diana. His name is Eric, and he adores dogs. I've been taking all of the dogs I walk to him for grooming. Just look what a wonderful job he does. Amelia Bedelia agreed that the dogs had never looked better or happier. They looked as though they felt important. Anything new with you? Asked Diana. Lots, said Amelia Bedelia. She told her all about Pierre skateboarding in her afternoon at Pete's Diner with Charlie. What an adventure, said Diana. And a little puppy love never hurt anyone. Pierre is not a little puppy, said Amelia Bedelia. He's a big dog. When they got to the park, Amelia Bedelia begged to walk the dogs for Diana. Please, said Amelia Bedelia, I need to decide what kind I want. Thanks, said Diana, handing her the leash. These pups are pussycats, but be alert. Uh-oh. She's got all these dogs, and Amelia Bedelia is going to walk them. Before Amelia Bedelia could ask how dogs could be cats, Charlie appeared with Pierre. Amelia Bedelia introduced him to Diana, and then they headed off. There were no skateboarders, but plenty of squirrels. So Charlie hung on to Pierre, and Amelia Bedelia watched her pack like a hawk. Your dogs look great, said Charlie. Don't they? Said Amelia Bedelia. Diana has them groomed. They walked on, but Amelia Bedelia could tell that something was bothering Charlie because he kept fidgeting. Finally, she asked, What's wrong? Are you worried about something? I am, Charlie said. I'm super nervous about the dog show on Saturday night. I want Pierre to look perfect. Hey, said Amelia Bedelia. Maybe Diana's friend Eric can groom Pierre too. Thanks, said Charlie, but my mom wants me to do it. Okay, said Amelia Bedelia. Can I help you though? Well, said Charlie, I need to give Pierre a bath on Saturday morning. It's easier with 2 people, and my mom is super busy. Would you be able to help me? Sure, said Amelia Bedelia. I need to ask my parents first, but I'm sure they'll let me. I'll call you. After Charlie and Pierre headed home, Amelia Bedelia decided to give the dogs an extra long walk. She was exhausted by the time she got them back to Diana. She was way too tired to ride her bike all the way home. She called her father and asked him to come pick her up. When her dad arrived, he put her bike in the trunk while she reclined in her seat, let out an enormous yawn, and shut her eyes. You're exhausted, said her dad. Are you dog tired or just tired of dogs? Both, she said. Today was a real drag. You didn't have fun, he said. Oh, I had fun, said Amelia Bedelia. But with 10 dogs, I was the one who got walked. They dragged me here and dragged me there. It was just one long drag. Amelia Bedelia's dad laughed. 10 dogs, he said. What kind were they? Amelia Bedelia counted them off. There was a Belgian sheepdog, an Irish setter, a German shepherd, a Scottish terrier, a Norwegian elkhound, an Italian hound, and a Welsh corgi. What a group, said her dad. Sounds like you took most of Europe for a walk. Wait a second, said Amelia Bedelia. I forgot about the Dane. Wow, said her father. A Great Dane? He was good, said Amelia Bedelia. Not really great. He misbehaves a lot. Diana says that he eats as much as a lion cub. Did you have any trouble besides the dragging? Asked her dad. A little, said Amelia Bedelia. I let 2 dogs play, and I lost sight of them for a couple of minutes. Did you spot them? He asked. One was already spotted, said Amelia Bedelia. That was the Dalmatian. Ha, 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 ha. Funny. What was the other one? Asked her dad. A Labrador, said Amelia Bedelia. Retriever? Asked her dad. Yup, said Amelia Bedelia. I found her. Amelia Bedelia rolled down her window. She hung her head out to let the cool wind blow through her hair. She liked the sound it made as it swirled past her ears. She said. I see why dogs love to do this. Wait a second, said her dad. You're not turning into a dog, are you? Maybe you've been hanging out with them too much. Instead of that necklace you want for your birthday, we might give you a flea collar instead. "Oh, Daddy," said Amelia Bedelia as they drove into their driveway. When they got inside, she told her mother about her day and about Charlie and his poodle, Pierre. "I adore poodles," said Amelia Bedelia's mother. "Is Pierre a cute little toy poodle?" "Mom," said Amelia Bedelia, "he's a real dog. He doesn't need batteries at all." Then Amelia Bedelia remembered to tell her parents what Charlie had said about poodles and how they got their name from puddles. "Aha," said her father. "That's what we call truth in jest. But what I want to know is, did Charlie laugh at my joke about stepping in a poodle?" "A lot," said Amelia Bedelia. "This Charlie kid is obviously a genius," said her dad. After that, it was easy for Amelia Bedelia to get permission to go over to Charlie's house. "You know what?" said her dad. "Your mom and I would love to see the dog show, too. We haven't been in years." "You bet," said her mom. "It's a plan." So, Chapter 8. 2-bit shave and a haircut. The next day was Saturday, the day of the dog show. Amelia Bedelia rode her bike over to Charlie's house. She was excited to help Charlie give Pierre a bath. "Charlie," said his mother, "since Amelia Bedelia is here to help you, I'm going to run some quick errands. I'll get Pierre's bath ready for you before I go." Soon, Pierre was standing in a deep tub full of warm water and suds. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie rolled up their sleeves and scrubbed Pierre in the soapy water. Pierre loved getting shampooed. And Amelia Bedelia and Charlie managed to stay pretty dry until it was time to dry Pierre. Both Amelia Bedelia and Charlie could see it coming. It was like those weather maps on TV that show an approaching hurricane. They were in the storm's path and were going to get soaked. Sure enough, Pierre let them have it. After 1 second of shaking, they were drenched. The only thing they could do was holler and shriek and dance around and laugh a lot. "Charlie," yelled Amelia Bedelia, "you look like you just ran through 100 sprinklers for an hour." There they are, soaked because of Pierre. "You look like you fell into the world's biggest swimming pool," yelled Charlie. Then starting with his head and moving down to his rear end, Pierre shook himself one last time, just to be sure they were totally soaked. Still laughing, Amelia Bedelia and Charlie led Pierre out to the back deck. They worked in the sunshine, squirting conditioner into Pierre's coat and rubbing it in with their fingers. "Let's start brushing him," said Charlie. "Fun," said Amelia Bedelia. She grabbed a nearby brush from a dustpan. When she began to brush Pierre with it, Charlie laughed. "Not that kind of brush," he said. "You'll get him all dirty again. Use one of these special dog brushes." Amelia Bedelia loved brushing Pierre. "He's going to be beautiful," she said. "You mean handsome," said Charlie. Once Pierre's hair was tangle-free, Charlie showed Amelia Bedelia how to trim his coat with the electric clippers. Uh-oh. Charlie was trimming stray hairs from Pierre's fluffy chest when disaster struck. A squirrel ran across the deck. Pierre took off after him like a shot. He ran over Charlie, who was still holding the whirring clippers. Charlie hit the deck. "No, Pierre," he shouted. "Heel! Wait! Come back! If you get dirty, you'll have to take another bath." Pierre was an obedient dog, and besides, the squirrel had already scrambled up a tree. Pierre trotted back to Charlie and sat down again. That's when Amelia Bedelia noticed a long strip of fluffy white fur on the deck. "Hey, Charlie, where did this come from?" she asked. "See, I told you. Uh-oh." There was only one place it could have come from, Pierre's beautiful prize-winning coat. Charlie kneeled in front of Pierre. "Uh-oh," he said. It looked as though a lawnmower had cut a swash straight through a pretty flower bed. "Oh, boy," said Charlie. "Boy, oh boy, oh boy, this is not good. Not good at all." He took the fluffy patch of hair from Amelia Bedelia and tried to push it back into place, but it didn't work. "We need tape or something," said Amelia Bedelia, "or paste, or a glue stick." They tried everything. Nothing worked. "Boy, oh boy, I am doomed," said Charlie. Pierre sat patiently. Perhaps he realized that he was partly to blame. But now, as he watched a puff of fur that used to be his beautiful pom-pom blow across the deck like a tiny tumbleweed, the situation began to sink into him, too. There's Pierre. Oops, he's missing some fur. Amelia Bedelia thought that if ever an animal were going to speak, it would be now. Pierre cocked his head, stared directly at them. His eyes said, "You've got to be kidding me. I trusted you to take care of me, and this happens? Woof." Charlie started pacing back and forth across the deck, repeating, "Boy, oh boy," he tugged at his own hair. "I know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Let's look in the kitchen. There's probably something there that would work." They searched through the kitchen drawers until Amelia Bedelia found some twisty ties. She headed back to the deck to try them on Pierre, while Charlie kept looking for possible solutions. "Charlie," yelled Amelia Bedelia, "your problem is gone." "Great," Charlie called back. "Do the twisty ties work?" "I don't know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Pierre is gone. Vanished." Uh-oh. Doggone is chapter 9. Charlie dashed out to the deck. "Pierre, Pierre, come here, boy, come here," said Charlie. Amelia Bedelia could hear the panic in Charlie's voice. They kept calling and calling Pierre's name over and over until it seemed to echo through the entire neighborhood. But it was no use. Pierre had evaporated into thin air. "This is all my fault," said Charlie. "Pierre probably feels stupid like I do, and he's run away." "I know," said Amelia Bedelia. "Let's make posters and hang them up in the neighborhood. That worked for a lady I know who lost her dog baby." "We don't have time," said Charlie. "This is an emergency. I'm cooked. The dog show is in a couple of hours. Mom is depending on me." Amelia Bedelia watched the breeze blow another tuft of Pierre's fur across the deck. She caught it and held it to her nose. She could still smell the yummy conditioner they had used. Her eyes grew large. She said, "Charlie, I'm pretty sure you're not cooked. I've got a real idea, but I need to call someone before I tell you what it is." Charlie handed her a phone. This is what he heard Amelia Bedelia say. "Hi, Diana, it's me, Amelia Bedelia." "Hi, yeah, I'm okay. You know that bloodhound you walked, Sherlock, right? Like the detective? Can I take him for a walk today? Like, right now?" "Perfect. Will you tell Mr. Holm I'm picking him up?" "Thanks. We're on our way." Amelia Bedelia grabbed Charlie's hand. "Let's go," she said. "Sherlock is on the case, and he'll help us for sure." "Those are the droopiest jowls I've ever seen," said Charlie. They were headed back to the deck, the last place they had seen Pierre. "Sherlock can find anything," said Amelia Bedelia. "We just need to give him a clue to work with." She waved the tuft of Pierre's fur under Sherlock's nose. His tail began to wag side to side, faster and faster. "Baroo!" bayed Sherlock. He took off, dragging Amelia Bedelia and Charlie along behind. "Baroo! Baroo!" There's a bloodhound. He's going to find Pierre. They ran over lawns, through backyards, across a tennis court, then straight down a street lined with stores. Sherlock led them right into the nearest butcher shop. "We're wasting time," moaned Charlie. "Sherlock doesn't know where Pierre is. He just wants lunch." Amelia Bedelia wasn't so sure. "Excuse me," she said to the butcher. "Did a huge French poodle stop by here?" The butcher laughed. "You mean the dog with the world's worst haircut?" "Yeah," said the butcher. "Wow, that's him," said Charlie. "Yeah," said the butcher. "He was here a few minutes ago. He looked miserable." "Hey, who butchered his hair?" Amelia Bedelia and Charlie looked at each other. "Anyway," said the butcher, "I felt sorry for him, so I gave him a hot dog." "That was really nice of you," said Amelia Bedelia. "Here," said the butcher, "here's a hot dog for your bloodhound." "Thank you," said Amelia Bedelia. "This can be a special treat for Sherlock when he finds Pierre." "If he finds Pierre," said Charlie. Amelia Bedelia dangled the tuft of Pierre's hair under Sherlock's nose once more. "Track," she said. "Baroo, baroo," bayed the Sherlock. And away they went. Amelia Bedelia could tell that Sherlock was hot on Pierre's trail. They bounded through backyards, over a compost heap, into a briar patch, and across a stream where Sherlock paused to sniff the bank. Amelia Bedelia looked at Charlie. "You're a total mess," she said. "So are you," said Charlie. "If we look this bad, imagine what Pierre's going to look like. Kiss the dog show goodbye." "Baroo," bayed Sherlock at the top of his lungs. This time, there was a reply. They heard a feeble woof that sounded as though it was coming from miles away. "It's Pierre!" shouted Charlie. Sherlock took off again and led them to a culvert, a tunnel that let the stream flow under a road. There they found Pierre. He was a wet, cold, shivering, dirty, disgusting mess. Still, they both threw their arms around him. He covered their faces with kisses in return. Amelia Bedelia hugged Sherlock and gave him his hot dog treat. It disappeared into his jowls and was devoured in one gulp. Blop. I think he's saying thank you, said Amelia Bedelia, laughing. Now there's a picture here. Amelia Bedelia and Charlie returned Sherlock to Mr. Holmes and on their way back to Charlie's house. Charlie's mom drove into the driveway just as they lifted Pierre into the warm, soapy bath. When she checked on their progress, she was surprised to find Pierre still in the bathtub. My goodness, she said, you two are going to wash him away. I just want him to look his best, said Charlie. That wasn't really a lie, thought Amelia Bedelia, but it wasn't the whole truth either. She concluded that it was just a fib. Well, shout if you need me, said Charlie's mom. I'll be down in my office. While Charlie scrubbed the muck out of Pierre's coat and pulled out burrs and briars, Amelia Bedelia called Diana again. This is what she said. Can your friend Eric, the dog groomer, perform miracles? So, I guess she's asking her friend if he can perform miracles for Pierre. You guys draw me a picture, write me out a sentence if you can. Stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you in a bit.